I have a hero. It's a new hero. His name is Saul. Saul is 91 years old, and he is an active chaplain with the Boynton Beach Police Department. Saul works out 3 times a week with a personal trainer. How do I know? Because I'm Saul's workout buddy. Saul works out with one of the new owners of the Pilates studio that I've been going to for years. He works out with Christian. I've worked out with Christian too, oh my God. Christian is a Romanian bodybuilder and trainer par excellence. And his wife Holly is an aerialist. Holly performed with Cirque du Soleil, and I work out with her. So one day, as we were in the studio working out side by side, Christian looked up from working out with Saul and said, "Cynthia, do you know what I told Saul?" I said, "When we're out walking up and down the stairs, if I see you even reach for that railing, I'll know that you're having an attack and I'll call an ambulance." And I thought, if Saul can do it, so can I. Now, when I walk downstairs, I go down the center. I don't even come close to where I could grab the railing, because if Saul can do it, so can I. Now, I almost didn't become Saul's workout buddy because I almost didn't work with Holly. When the people Holly and Christian, when Holly and Christian took over the studio last year, Holly had a new owner special. 10 sessions with her for a ridiculously low amount of money. And I wanted that package. And then I thought, she's so good and I'm not that good and she might hate working with me. I built this snowball of disempowerment. You know, the kind where you start with one I can't because, and as that snowball rolls down the hill, it gets bigger and bigger and faster. So I didn't work with Holly. But 2 months ago, I had a birthday. I was in the studio anyway. I had just taken a class, and I said to the instructor, "If you've got a second, could I do something cool?" And you take a photo of it, you know, for Facebook. And her next class was coming in, but Christian heard me, and Christian said, "All right, Cynthia, get over here." Put me up on the Cadillac. He said, "Grab these poles and listen carefully, because if you don't, we both lose. I lose a client and you lose mobility." So I listened very carefully. Grab the poles, kick your feet up. My head was down, my feet were flipped over backward over my head. I could only hold it for a second, and it was my fault because Christian said, "Tuck your heels," and I thought the photo would be prettier with pointed toes, and then I came down. But that was so thrilling. There was all the adrenaline and then the endorphins. I hadn't felt that alive in a very, very long time. And then Christian said, "All right, Cynthia, sit down. You know, when performers stop performing, they get PTSD." "What?" I said, "Yeah, they've had a life of highs and suddenly everything's flat." A light went off because I'd had a life of highs. I'd sung leading roles in the best operas ever composed, in a lot of the opera houses all around the world for 30 years. That was my life. There were an awfully lot of highs. I even got to sing for presidents. I sang at state dinners. I was a guest at state dinners. And interestingly, somewhere close to the end of those 30 years, I finally understood that I wasn't just doing it for myself. I got that I was contributing. The same way that artists had influenced me, artists who had just by virtue of their performance changed my life. But because I was willing as an artist to just rip myself open and be totally vulnerable to the audience got permission to be vulnerable with themselves. I had a good run. And one day, I quit. Because, well, I was getting too old. The snowball? I was getting too old, and they probably weren't going to keep hiring me anyway, and stop while you're ahead, make a clean cut. So I did. And then I started looking for anything that could fill that hole. I tried a lot of things. I went to India. I became a master practitioner of NLP. I got a degree in interior design. And then on a whim, I got my real estate license. And here I was with something that made me focus. So I focused and I focused and I focused, and I threw out this in my life, I threw out that, I threw out that. I wouldn't even accept concerts anymore because I was focused. And my life got gray. So I looked at teaching. Interesting. There are a lot of people like me in the world. People who cannot live without singing. They can't live without it because that's what they're supposed to do. And I was able, I discovered, to help people work out sometimes major technical difficulties and realize their dreams. I think my life was going pretty well then, right? Until that birthday, and I came into the studio and I was upside down. And life was compelling again. So the next day, I signed up for 2 sessions a week with Holly. And now, Holly has me doing stuff that when I was younger, I wouldn't have dreamed of being able to do those things. And every time she says, put one foot here, put the other foot back behind you, and put the other foot back behind you. And every step of the way, I'm going, no, no, no. And she, yes, you can do it. Yes, you can do it. And every time I do something like that and I don't die, it's like, oh, life is open again. So as somebody who's seen both sides, I mean, I've reduced my life knowingly and not knowingly, and I've had it expanded also knowingly and not knowingly. Sometimes it's just so compelling that you can't resist. So I've got to ask you, are we willing to let life just take us and go, well, you know, last year I could do this, or 10 years ago I could do this, but, well, now this, and because I can't do that, and that's your life? Or would you like to add something to your life? Something that might be outrageous, and say, yes! And your life opens up again, and you're excited, and you have a reason to live. And then I just might remind you, if Saul can do it, so can you. Well, since you know I'm an opera singer and you already heard the music, you might know where this is leading. You know what they say, it doesn't end until the...
Skinny lady sings.
Don't take my word for it. I'm going to show you.